In Great Britain alone, we have 1.7 million people who live with an intellectual disability. 1.7 million people. There are 200 babies who are born every week with an intellectual disability. It's the largest group of disabled people, yet it's still a hidden disability. And there are many stigmas surrounding it because we don't talk about it because we can't see it. So Katie and I are here to kind of bust some myths about that. You know, the Paralympics in London in 2012 did an incredible job in sport for those with a physical disability, and, you know, kudos to them and Channel 4 for bringing the Paralympics to the mainstream audience, and, you know, and getting mainstream TV programs made, such as The Last Leg. You know, we have to look to the Paralympics and go, you know, that investment, that broadcast partner, it fundamentally changed the life for those with a physical disability. You know, and I was often say, so now, you know, we shouldn't have to apologise to a parent for giving birth with someone who has an intellectual disability, whether that's Down syndrome or something else. You know, if you're born without a limb, you'll more likely have seen an image of a Paralympian winning a gold medal, you know, at the Paralympics, and you kind of go, oh yeah, you can get blades and you can do all of this differently. The people I've spoken to and the parents of the athletes were handed their child with an apology. I'm so sorry, your son. I'm so sorry, your daughter has. You know, and I don't want the world to be like that. And I think we all have a role to play.
Before Special Olympics, believe it or not, I didn't believe I had a voice, and now I'm here and today, proving everybody wrong that we do have a voice, and with the right support and guidance and time, that's very, very important. Time, guidance, support, and treated like an individual. Those are the four main keys that you need to remember from the restricted disability. And as a leader, we go to cases. Last year we went to the Great Britain board meeting, and that's the first time ever in Special Olympics history that a team of athletes have got to the very top of the board, and we finally had our say, and we realised that and they finally realised that we are individual like everybody else. And some of the businesses out there, they think that because we've got this hidden disability and that we can't achieve what we want to achieve. But for myself, for example, I own my own business. I've had experience of working with kids doing years beforehand. I'm an athlete leader for Special Olympics, and with the right support, guidance and time, we can achieve what we want to achieve in life.
It is really hard, and I think what happens in the world that we live in, there's a huge mismatch between the way our brain has evolved and the way society operates. And we need to take advantage of the way our brain evolves, and doing things like role modelling the change is so critical, because it's something that actually just works with the way our brain is made, and it enables things to happen. But it's really hard when it comes to invisible disabilities, whether that's intellectual or whether that's mental health, because it's harder to then role model. But we need to hear people's stories like Katie's, which is fantastic. We need to hear how that makes a difference. We need to understand, and where possible, we need to see it in practice, because that enables us quite literally as human beings to make the change and to move towards a more inclusive society. But I think at an organizational level, I would always advise senior leaders that it's about creating a culture of belonging. So it's not necessarily diversity and inclusion, it's belonging, because belonging is what we need as humans. And if we can understand that we all belong, we're all the same in group, it's not they're over there and we're here, again, it enables a natural mechanism in the brain for us to actually change the way we do things in a positive way. I think it's so important to work with these things to help make the world more inclusive of everyone, and to be able to see the value that every single individual brings.
As leaders, we've got to be authentic, and we've got to effect change. And we're living in uncertain times. I'm really interested in futurology and the way that the world will evolve. And if we look at before the pandemic, the way people consumed entertainment was changing radically, and perhaps the pandemic will accelerate that. So it's a very disrupted world. So in terms of affecting change, it's absolutely for people like me, people like Michelle, people in senior office to make sure that what we say we're going to do, we back that up and actually get on and deliver it. I think there's some really interesting things that have happened, particularly in the UK. The Sports Governance Code has been a force for good. So in terms of representation, particularly at board level, there's been some parameters set on that. The gender pay reporting, whilst that might not have affected change, it has at least raised the issue more into public space and has created the greater debate. But it just goes back to being tangible, doing things. So when we look at our event, we've made some really bold and brave statements about how we will provide equality, introducing prize money for the women's tournament and the wheelchair tournament, a huge drive towards giving athletes with a physical disability and an intellectual disability a platform. And it's all well and good saying that. We've got to get on and deliver that. And in doing so, that will hopefully be the catalyst in the future. But I think the real change will come from decision makers, having representation in boardrooms, setting the strategies, and it's not going to happen overnight, so we've got to be realistic about that timeline. But just what Katie said before, listening to people is so critically important, and that will absolutely help with change.
Really need to think about inoculation, not cure. So supporting people with the right tools and understanding and supporting one another. Because if you hire someone for their capability, whether they are from a marginalised population or whether they are a senior leader, if they then burn out or they're stressed or they're under too much pressure, you don't get that capability from them as an organisation. But equally, they're putting pressure on the people around them as opposed to everyone lifting everyone else up. So I think the more people understand and the more inclusive people can be of each other, more people are able to express their own needs, because, you know, Katie has her needs, my needs would be different, but to be able to express and articulate those by understanding our own needs, then we can work together to try and support one another.
And now I find out the voice that's breaking barriers and inclusion, that's leading the way to inclusion.
I think a lot of change is about the desire to actually want to make change in the first place. And I think this whole discussion about diversity, inclusion, belonging, ability, not disability, now is the right time to elevate that discussion and just make sure that at every level in an organisation there is the desire to make that change. Processes are, of course, important, Lianna, and making sure that in that new rhythm and routine that we're able to do something that will affect the change. But to hear from Katie, to be inspired, to see what is possible through ability, to use the platforms we all have, we are so grateful to be able to, fingers crossed, stage our event in 13 months' time and use that as a catalyst for change. We believe this will be the most transformative event in 125 years of the sport, and it is because it's based on our desire for a truly inclusive event, and we will squeeze every last drop out of it, and then hopefully the knowledge that we gain, others will follow. And that's why it's so important that this debate is here and now, and people like ourselves can not only talk, campaign, but actually take demonstrable action.